Wrestling with siblings, what's up? Yeah. Right. Yeah. In the state. Yeah.
Life is a fight, so I gotta get right. Can't have my back on the ropes.
Never.
This for my sister and bro. I swear that we'll make it, that's all that we hope. Life is stone cold. Get hit with a sinner, that's all that she wrote. The world that we live in has made me cutthroat. I started rapping about life just to cope. Now I spit fire like Ricky Steamboat. Straight from the bottom, got so much to gain. I had to grind just to build on my name. People call me champ, I'm feeling like Dwayne. I laid it smack down, here comes the pain.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestling with Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando and welcome to Wrestling with Siblings.
Alright, let's get started with Crown Jewel. Probably one of the biggest matches of our generation. Started off the show, and that was none other than Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. We saw these two beasts go at it. But you have to give credit where credit is due. Bobby Lashley completely destroyed Brock Lesnar in this entire match.
He did. Coming into this match, you would have thought that, you know what, Brock Lesnar finally met his match, and I think he did. Bobby Lashley came out with he was smart, he was focused, and he came out with the strategy. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to go out and attack quick and not let the beast build any momentum. And sure enough, that's what he did throughout the match. And even though Brock Lesnar was trying to do some suplexes, he wasn't able to be successful at certain times of the match.
Yes, and keep in mind, this was a different Bobby Lashley. This was a motivated Bobby Lashley. Why do I say that? Because he lost his championship because of Brock Lesnar for no given reason. Now, of course, maybe Brock was like, you know what, I want to pick a fight with this guy because this is the only competition that I could potentially have. But we never see Brock Lesnar be manhandled the way that we saw him be manhandled by Bobby Lashley. And like I said, the reason why is because he had a different sort of motivation, and he was definitely out there trying to prove a point. And personally, even though Brock Lesnar won and basically stole the win, we can say Bobby Lashley proved to be one of the most dominant men in this roster.
And I think Brock Lesnar also walked in with the strategy. He knew Bobby Lashley was going to come in firing all cylinders, and he knew, you know what, he's eventually going to make a mistake, and that's when I'm going to have to capitalize. And sure enough, that's what he did. That's where the experience of Brock Lesnar came into play against Bobby Lashley. And again, a huge win for Brock Lesnar. Do I think this is the end of this feud? No, I think we're going to continue to see these guys, and these guys are going to tear each other apart.
I think this is going to be the WrestleMania match right here. I think this is going to keep going up until that point. And of course, like, there is so much that is left going into WrestleMania season, but this for sure isn't over. Let's move on to the very next match of the night, which was Alexa Bliss and Asuka defending the tag team titles versus Damage Cntrl. Now, right off the bat, we saw a completely different Alexa Bliss. We saw a motivated Alexa. We saw Little Miss Bliss. I have found myself Alexa Bliss, an Alexa Bliss that we hadn't seen since her return.
And I think the difference in this match was going to be Nikki Cross. We saw her come in and attack Alexa Bliss. We know that she had that friendship before she partnered up with The Fiend, and I think that was the key. I wouldn't be surprised if Nikki Cross joins Damage Cntrl, just because she is, being herself now, and we're able to help him out.
And I think Damage Cntrl went in with an advantage. I think they went in extremely focused, extremely confident. They knew what they were getting themselves into, and you can tell that they studied their opponents. I feel like they weren't ready for the Alexa Bliss that we saw. They were ready for Asuka, and they knew that the moment that Asuka got into this match, that was going to be the difference maker. However, they were not expecting Nikki Cross to help them out, because you can tell during the match, as soon as Nikki Cross comes in, absolutely clueless that she was even there. And Asuka and Io, I think they gave one of the best performances that I have seen. I would really like to see a one-on-one feud between those two.
Yeah, I think they would have a phenomenal feud. And again, falling back on Damage Cntrl, I think they did their homework, and also they wanted to prove another thing too, that the win that Alexa Bliss and Asuka had on Monday was a fluke. And what better way to do it than a huge pay-per-view at Crown Jewel to make a statement and be like, you know what? If you guys take the titles away from us, we are still going to be here competing, and we are the team to beat.
Where does Damage Cntrl go from here? They've beaten Alexa and Asuka not once, but twice already. What team do you see could possibly be the one that dethrones Damage Cntrl? Now, of course, I think it was absolutely pointless to give the titles to Alexa and Asuka and then take it away from them a week later. But now that they could potentially have another alliance, aside from Bayley, now they could possibly have Nikki Cross. Who do you see being the team that takes down Damage Cntrl?
I don't know. It's gonna be a tough one. If anything, it could probably be some potential teams from NXT. Damage Control pretty much has dominated the women's tag team division, and what better way to do it than being the women's tag team champions? I really don't see any tag team right now. It's gonna be tough to dethrone this team. Why? Because they're so focused, they're well put together, and Bayley did a phenomenal job by pairing these two together. And again, her mentoring these two is taking them to a whole new level. So this is gonna be the team to beat. Yeah, they lost on Monday, but again, I think they're focused and they're on the same page. Once these three girls are on the same page, they're going to be unstoppable.
100% agree with you on that one. Let's move on to Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross. This was a steel cage match. And right off the bat, we already know who has the advantage. Karrion Kross. Why? He has Scarlett in his corner. Yes, it might be a steel cage match. Yes, she can't really go inside and can't really get involved. But just having Scarlett there was the entire difference maker in this match. Why? She had Maze, which she used to maze not only the ref, but McIntyre. And she was also pretty much at that point in charge of the door, so she wouldn't let McIntyre out.
I think McIntyre walked in more prepared into this match. Wait, the first two matches, I don't think he was prepared at all. He was just like, you know what? I want to get my anger out. I want to get my hands on Karrion Kross. And that ended up costing him. On this one, I think he strategized a little bit more and he expected Scarlett, you know what, she's going to get involved at some point. And sure enough, he waited for the perfect moment. What happened? Scarlett was at the door. She locks the door with her own lock and uses the key. And what does McIntyre do? He's like, you know what, thank you. He decides to go up over the cage, and by the time Scarlett realizes she has screwed up, she tries to open it and it was too late, and Drew McIntyre ends up getting the win. This match had to be a must-win for Drew McIntyre.
Yes, he had done so much and gone through so much over the course of the last couple of weeks. His only way of redemption was this. And of course, I do agree when you say he was 100% prepared for somebody like Scarlett. I don't think he knew what Scarlett had up his sleeve, but there was only so much she could do being outside of the ring. And you have to give credit where credit is due. Karrion Kross absolutely dominating this match from the beginning. You can tell how confident he was. But I think one of the things that really set him back was the fact that he was going at a very slow pace. He was really, really steady going in and going out. But McIntyre was able to capitalize on that, like we said, and he was able to get a win over Karrion Kross.
I think the reason for the slow pace of Karrion Kross, we just wanted to punish Drew McIntyre and be like, you know what, I want to finish you here and I want this to be the last match. And I think that might have been his mistake. But throughout that, Karrion Kross was impressive. I mean, what he has done to Drew McIntyre these past couple of matches has been incredible. It's rare to see someone dominate McIntyre the way he did. And going on to McIntyre, I think McIntyre was just at the right place at the right time. He strategized. He waited for that perfect opportunity. And this is the Drew McIntyre you want to see. The focused, the motivated one. Could I potentially see him in another title picture? Who knows? Maybe down the run. Can he dethrone Gunner? Probably. So we'll see how that plays out for Drew McIntyre.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see definitely what's next for these two competitors. I know I would love to see Karrion Kross go up for a championship, maybe the United States Championship. I think it's time. I think he's ready, and I think he's a very dangerous competitor. It's going to be interesting to see where they decide to go with both of these men.
And not only that, I would also like to see Karrion Kross face Roman Reigns. He did throw the challenge out there when he first came out, so I think he's got some unfinished business with Roman, and that's something interesting that I think should happen and we probably would see down the road.
Let's move on to the Judgment Day versus the OC. Alright, right off the bat, we already know who the entire difference maker of this match is. And I couldn't agree more with Michael Cole as he said it. Somebody has to kick Rhea Ripley's ass, man. Somebody has to come for her already, because I am sick and tired of her having her way with every single competitor in every single match. It's absolutely not okay, but again, she's the difference maker. People probably could argue that Finn Balor is the leader of the Judgment Day. I don't believe so. I think it is Rhea Ripley, and I think until you get rid of Rhea Ripley and you find somebody that's willing to step up to her, nobody's going to be able to take down the Judgment Day.
I agree with you on that. She is the difference maker, and she proved it again in this match. The OC walked in confident. Why? Because they had gotten a victory over the Judgment Day on Monday, and that boosts his confidence. They're like, you know what, we got this, and they were able to do it. But again, Rhea Ripley, man, that's the difference maker. But I think they were prepared this time. I think they were prepared, and just a numbers game. No matter how prepared you are, if you are down in the numbers game, it's always gonna cost you, and that was right there. So if the OC would have had somebody on their corner to distract Rhea Ripley, I think the OC could have took this one.
And I agree with you when you say that the OC was definitely more prepared. Why? They isolated Dominic. They found out, you know what, he is the weakest link of the entire Judgment Day. If we can isolate him long enough, we can get one up against the Judgment Day, and that's exactly what they did. They isolated him for as long as they could, and that way they were able to capitalize and cause some damage to Dominic. It wasn't until we got Finn Balor and Priest into the match that it really made a difference. But again, Rhea Ripley is the one competitor that you have to get rid of before you can even attempt to get rid of the Judgment Day.
And I gotta say, I love what the Judgment Day is doing. I mean, with Dominic, with Finn Balor, with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, I think this is going to be the faction to beat. This is going to be the faction that everybody's going to want to go up against and pretty much test themselves again. Why? Because of what they have done. They have been super impressive, super dominant. I mean, if anybody was going to be able to take them down, it was going to be the OC. And, you know, they proved us wrong. They proved everybody wrong. That, you know what? Even the OC, with all the experience that they have, they came up short. They came up short on a 6-man tag. So, let's see. It's going to be interesting to see who is going to take down the Judgment Day. Do I see anybody taking him down? I don't see anybody taking him down anytime soon. Again, especially having Rhea Ripley in your corner. And even if you're able to find somebody to distract or take down Rhea Ripley, I still think she might be just too much for whoever they bring. I mean, just the power, the size, the speed that she has. It's just the dominant that this team has. It's incredible.
At this point, you don't need somebody to take down Rhea Ripley. You need the numbers game, and I think that's how you're going to beat the Judgment Day. Yes, you take out Rhea Ripley. Yes, you find somebody that can physically take out Rhea Ripley. Plus, you have to stack up on either women or men, because at this point, there is 3 members of the OC, which, by the way, they've been doing fantastic since they basically came back. But what women could potentially take out Rhea Ripley? I don't think you just need one. Beth Phoenix couldn't do it. I think at this point, you need at least 2 women that could potentially take down Rhea Ripley, plus the entire OC to do so. Because at this point, I don't really think there's anybody in that roster that can take down the entire Judgment Day, like you said.
So if you guys were the OC, who would you guys have? You guys help you guys out. It could be anybody you guys want in the women's division. Let us know on your comments below. We are interested to see who do you guys would pick to choose to side with the OC.
Let us know in the comments below. Tweet us, Instagram us, let us know. Alright, let's move on to Omos versus Strowman. A giant, a literal giant, versus the monster among men.
I gotta say, Braun Strowman finally met his match. Someone that was bigger, stronger than him. I mean, Omos was impressive. He dominated Braun Strowman, and for someone to do that against Braun Strowman, it's like super impressive. You see the size of Braun Strowman, you're like, really? Who's gonna be able to go toe to toe against that guy? And sure enough, it was Omos.
Even then, Omos was able to keep Strowman down, like physically down for a long period of time. He wasn't just talking about him knocking him down and that was it. No, he kept him down for 90% of this match. But I think the experience of Braun Strowman really was what made the difference here. Now, keep in mind, Omos was by himself. He didn't have his mentor. He didn't have MVP. And right off the bat, that was an advantage for Strowman and a disadvantage for Omos. Why? He's used to having MVP there.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that. I think not having MVP on this corner was a huge factor. Why? Because there's always that distraction factor, that talking smack outside the ring. Hey, you know what, Braun Strowman, he's bigger than you, he's better than you. Braun Strowman's going to have to watch over his shoulder all the time. So I think that right there was a huge factor for Omos not to be able to get the victory over Braun Strowman. Now we know who the real giant, who the real monster is in the WWE, and no doubt about it, it was Braun Strowman. I think this is probably one of Braun Strowman's huge wins to show the locker room, you know what, I am the most dominant superstar in the roster right now.
And it's going to be interesting to see what's next for both of these competitors. Do they go at it again? Do we see an Omos versus Strowman part 2, and could potentially Omos beat Strowman this time? Now, keep in mind, I think really the difference maker was MVP not being there. But again, at the same time, the experience from Braun Strowman played a huge difference going into this match. All right, let's move on to the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes. Oh my god, what a performance from both of these competitors. I feel like the Usos, every single time you put them in the ring, they just get better and better and better and better. And they learn how to adapt, and they learn how to win, and they learn what their competitors are doing, and they adjust to be able to capitalize each and every single time.
I think they just keep getting better and better, but I think you missed out one thing. They've learned a lot from being tag team champs, and what have they learned is to survive. I said it before. If you learn how to survive and how to finish and how to pull through those matches, you are going to get up the win. They always look for those 2-on-1 situations, and again, that's what they do, and that's why they are so good. You know, they didn't realize Jimmy tagged in, and I believe it was Butch that didn't realize that Jimmy had tagged in, and again, right there, they capitalized on the 2-on-1 situation. Super kick, bam, with the Uso splash, 1, 2, 3, it was over like that. But I mean, give it up to the Brawling Brutes. If anybody was going to dethrone the Usos, it was going to be these guys right here, right? Because they had the power, they had the speed, they were focused, they knew what they were doing.
100%, and I think this time they went in a lot more confident than they have before. We saw a different side of the Brawling Brutes, and I think a part of that is coming from the fact that the Usos took out their leader. They took out Sheamus. What they did to him, the brutality that they used to take down Sheamus, I think in this case they were like, you know what, we have to make it right. We have to bring those titles home for Sheamus. But at the same time, I feel like they sat there and they analyzed what the Usos do. And at some point, I really thought they had it against the Usos. At some point, I was like, oh my god, we are going to crown brand new undisputed tag team champions. But then again, the Usos, as you said, they are the better team. Why? They learn how to survive, and they're brothers, so they have a bond and some chemistry that nobody could match.
Not only that, the Brawling Brutes needed a little bit of more luck, just maybe less than half a second, 1 millimeter a second, and they would have been champions. I mean, they were so close. There was a couple times where I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do it, and what happened? The Usos kicked out, or the Usos broke the council. It was an impressive match. I think one of the best tag team matches we've seen, and what better place to do it than at Crown Jewel.
100% agree with you on that one. Let's move on to our Raw Women's Championship match. Bianca Belair versus Bayley. This was one of my favorite matches of the night, if not the best match of the entire night. Absolutely brutal Bianca Belair and a brutal Bayley. You were able to tell during this match how far both of these women were able to go to be the best of the best on the Raw roster and in the entire WWE.
This was a must-win situation for Bayley. I think right from the get-go, she knew she had to go in and with a different mentality, be more aggressive, do whatever it takes to win, because who knows, this could potentially be her last opportunity. I mean, she's already had, 2 opportunities against Bianca Belair, and she's come up short. So, you know, those opportunities are getting smaller and smaller, so she knew right from the get-go that this was it, and I got to give it up to Bianca. She did whatever it took to retain her title. I mean, we even saw her use a golf cart. You know, she pulled every single trick in the book, and yeah, frustration was starting to get to her. You know, and I think that's what Bayley wanted. You know what? She's going to get frustrated, she's going to make a mistake, and that's where I'm going to capitalize.
I think Bianca Belair went in knowing how high the competition was going to be. I think she went in knowing, you know what, Bayley has beat me before. She's been one of the only few women in the WWE that has actually been able to pin her. And I think at one point I saw Bianca be scared. I think I saw in her eyes where, oh my god, I don't know if I could keep going in this match. Now keep in mind, the longer this match went on, the more it benefited her, but the less it benefited her in the exact same way. Why? Because you never know how Bayley was going to strike. Now keep in mind, she does have damage control, and I think that is the biggest factor going into this match. Yes, were we going to see potentially Asuka and Alexa interfere? Sure, but at the end of the day, she was the women's champion and she had to go above and beyond to defend her championship, and I think she went in prepared for Bayley. And Bayley, oh my god, what a performance did she give. I think she underestimated Bianca. I think she went in overly confident, thinking that she was going to come out champion, especially because she saw Damage Cntrl regain the championships a little bit earlier, but at the same time, the frustration, I think, was what was the end of Bayley.
Yeah, on both ends, definitely, I agree with you on that. And, you know, unfortunately, Bayley came up short. Would this be her last opportunity? I don't know. we'll wait and see. But I don't think this feud is gonna be over between these two.
The back of the line. I think, unfortunately, she's going to have to go to the back of the line. Personally, if I thought somebody was going to beat Bianca Belair, I really thought it was going to be Bayley. I was like, there is nobody else in the roster that I could see right now that could potentially dethrone Bianca. But now, also, keep in mind, Bayley is the only member of Damage Cntrl that doesn't have a championship. We know how Bayley gets. Jealousy always gets the best of her, and we know 100% every single time she has a partner, she always backstabs them. So I would not be surprised if jealousy starts to kick in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. We'll see how it plays out. Io and Dakota, just watch out for Bayley. Yeah, she's helped you guys a lot, but I agree with Araceli. You know, she has known to turn on certain superstars. I mean, she turned on Sasha, and we'll see how it plays out.
I agree. Now let's move on to Bray Wyatt. We'll keep this one very, very short for you. Basically, he comes out and he says he comes from a prestigious family and that he always thought he wasn't good enough, but that he was the one person that was going to be greater than everybody else in his family, and he had to prove that. And then it's followed up by Uncle Howdy showing up on the screen, basically coming out and saying everything you've said has been a lie up until this point, and then it cuts and we no longer see Bray Wyatt standing in the ring.
So it's going to be interesting to see what Bray Wyatt is going to do. Who is he going to come up? Who is he going to be the first person he's going to feud? Is he going to fight his demons first? Well, we'll see how it plays out. I think everybody's still on the same page. We kind of don't know what direction he's going or what he's going to do. But again, Uncle Howdy. Let's see what he plays into this whole story.
Who's Uncle Howdy? Who's Sister Abigail? What's next for Bray Wyatt? Obviously, we know his first feud is against himself and his demons and him trying to get rid of the Fiend character. Personally, I think the Fiend character will be coming back. I don't know. Let us know in the comments below what you think is next for Bray Wyatt.
Although he did say that he came back to finish rewriting his story. So we'll see how it all plays out. I'm very curious to see what he's going to do or what's going to play out for him in the future as well.
100%. Let's move on to the biggest talked about match in probably WWE history. We have Logan Paul challenging for the Undisputed Championship against the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Right off the bat, I have to tell you something. Logan Paul's performance in this match, phenomenal. I feel like for his third match, he was born to do this. He really was. There is only a couple people that you can look at that weren't born into the business that come in and completely make the sport their own.
I was very, very surprised by Logan Paul. He really impressed me tonight, and he also did against The Miz. But tonight was special. Tonight I felt that he left everything in the ring and that he really felt the passion of the WWE and the universe as well too. What he did tonight, I mean, just super athletic. He took Roman Reigns to the limit. There was a point where I thought he actually had Roman beat, not once but twice. And I mean, to do that to Roman, and I think Roman didn't underestimate him. He knew what he was facing, but at the same time, he did get a little confident. He did get a little cocky, and I think that might have costed him. There was also another point where Logan Paul was a little overconfident. He wasted too much time talking to the fans on his phones, and I think those were valuable seconds.
I do think those were valuable seconds, and of course, we knew that Logan Paul walked in with a disadvantage. Why? The bloodline. 100% his biggest disadvantage was that the bloodline was going to be present. Not there at the match specifically, but we knew that at some point, whenever we thought that Logan Paul was going to have it, who was going to come out? The bloodline. And I agree with Armando. There wasn't once, more than twice, did I think we are going to crown a brand new undisputed champion. Can you imagine what that would have been like? But the athleticism and everything that Logan Paul did absolutely blew me away. But again, once we saw the Usos come out and completely take out Logan Paul, I was like, okay, like that's it. That's over. Especially when the Usos came in and they attacked his squad, basically. And then we see Jake Paul come out, which is his brother, and he goes face to face with the Usos. And at this point, I'm like, okay, They've kind of evened out the odds, but then at the same time, this is the distraction that the Usos were trying to cause for Logan Paul, and he fell for it. He absolutely fell for that distraction. Yes, he had Jake at his corner, but keep in mind, they are the rookies going into this match. That was the distraction that Roman needed, and what did he do? He capitalized with a Superman punch and a spear, and he was able to get the win over Logan Paul.
Yeah, and that's all that took. That's what Roman Reigns was waiting for the entire match and waited for the perfect opportunity, and he was able to capitalize. That's why Roman Reigns is where he is at. He knows when to take advantage of those situations, and he waits for the perfect opportunity for him to strike with his Superman punch and his spear. And sure enough, that's what he did, and that was the game changer.
But I gotta give it to Logan Paul. He did hit that one lucky shot, and guess what happened? Nothing. It did nothing to Roman Reigns, and that is why, again, like you said, he is where he is at. Who is going to take down Roman Reigns? He is about 1,000 days into his reign. He is about to hit 3 years. Who's going to take down Roman Reigns? Logan Paul couldn't do it. A lot of competitors couldn't do it. Very, very interesting.
At this point, you're running out of options. I mean, if anything, worst case scenario, I'm gonna have to go step in the ring if he doesn't have an opponent. I mean, I know I don't stand a chance, but hey, you know what? If he wants an opponent, I'm right here.
I also feel like this was the perfect opportunity for Austin Theory to cash in the championship. There was to cash in the Money in the Bank. I'm sorry. There was a lot of opportunities in this match that Logan Paul and both Roman Reigns themselves created for Austin Theory. Would he have been successful? Absolutely not. So I give him props for not cashing in. But very interesting. I guess we're going to have to wait and see who's going to be the competitor that takes down the Tribal Chief.
And Logan Paul, if you didn't get Roman Reigns' respect, for sure as hell, you got my respect. And I know you got Aracella's respect. So good job on your match. I don't think this is the last we've seen of Logan Paul. I know me and you were discussing it during the match. And, you know, we kind of like, if anybody's going to dethrone the Usos and the Bloodline from what we saw, it's probably going to be the Paul brothers. Because I think what they proved today in the match, that they got what it takes to dethrone the Bloodline. And not only that, it's going to be brothers versus brothers. And what better way to do it? You have two brothers, Logan Paul and Jake Paul versus Jimmy and Jey Uso. I mean, the story writes itself. It's perfectly. What better way to do it then? You know?
It really does write itself, and there's no better place to do it than at WrestleMania Hollywood. You have the Paul brothers, the biggest thing probably in Hollywood at some given point, versus the Usos. I think it's a blockbuster match. I think WWE should do it. However, we have to wait and see how Logan Paul does based off his injury. We know he has a torn meniscus. We know he has a torn MCL and a potential ACL. We wish him a speedy recovery. If he is out, he's going to be out for about 6 to 9 months. Wishing Logan Paul a speedy recovery from here on out. Alright, you guys, that's all we have for you guys on this episode of Wrestling with Siblings. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Become a part of the Siblings today. And for those of you that do not know what WWS stands for, wonder what does WWS stand for?
Wrestling with Siblings. Thank you guys so much, and see you guys next time.